Hello, everyone. I'm North Hempstead Town Supervisor Judy Bosworth. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have embarked on creating a virtual exercise series for our senior residents. We partnered with our Project Independence fitness instructors to host these virtual classes, which will allow you to stay fit and healthy by participating from the safety of your home. Please enjoy.
We're going to go with a fitness class, going with some more aerobic activities. So I would recommend to have a band. I'll put that aside for now. I have weights. You're going to use a little bit lighter of a weight than you would normally. And I have a folding chair. Okay, well, so if you don't, I will try to work on some activities that you can do without the chair. But right now we're going to start walking in place. So this is one of the basic aerobic activities. So we're starting off at a very low intensity. And I'm starting to just pick it up a little bit faster. Just remembering to breathe. This is, the more oxygen you're going to get in, the better. That's how we energize our body doing this activity. We don't get into the other exercises that work more without oxygen. I haven't really gone into discussing that in this program. So right now we're just marching in place, and then I'm gonna start to do that with the band. So it's gonna make it a little bit hard. I'm gonna start off with like a press. So I'm marching in place, and I'm going to also press. So if you feel like it's too much, then I would stop the walking and just do the presses for now. Because right now we're working on the shoulder area and upper back. Right now, the shoulders mostly. I'm going to change it a little bit now. You see how I'm pressing my hands up higher? A little more into the shoulders, less into the torso. Okay, now I'm just going to walk it out while I switch. Now I'm going to work the upper back I take the band in front by holding it about shoulder width apart. I'm just going to pull the band out. That will work the upper back, but I'm going to also work the leg. So we'll start off with the leg, just called a kickback. So you see how my leg comes back behind me. That's working the muscle in the back of the legs. When you get that rhythm going and you want to make it a little bit more intense, more of the back, I'm going to come in what is called a reverse fly. So you'll feel at some points that it's getting harder and harder to breathe. That's where we're going. But if you find you're getting too much, I would say for then, just stop the legs, just do the arms for now. So we get the upper back engaged. So you should be feeling like, it's getting a little bit hard, and then back it off. Okay, we're going to come back, and we're just going to come into another activity. It's, again, very aerobic. You probably did this back in school. They're called jumping jacks. So I'm doing a half jumping jack. Just finding the rhythm to your breath. And if this is too easy, you're welcome to do the real jumping jack. Yeah. Feeling a lot more aerobic exercise. And when you find that's getting to be too much, walk it out. Yeah, jumping jack sound, it seems easy because really you may have done it when you were young and then you got away from doing it. So I would say go slow. Always start off easy and slow. As we're going to increase these exercises by adding weights. So I'm walking and I'm going to come to another exercise. It's like a scissor. So I'm going to take my arms, cross my arms over each other, and then I'm going to step my legs out. So you can make this as like a alternative to doing jumping jacks. So you can actually jump in the air and do this. Just be careful, there's nothing around that you're going to step on or come down on. I put my weight on the chair just so I wouldn't step on them. So again, you can go faster and faster, and when you feel like it's too much, just walk it out. So all of these exercises we're going through slowly, and then we're going to add a little more intensity to it. So we're going to come into squats, my favorite. So I set my feet, I like my feet a little bit wider so my feet are under my hips. And I just sit my hips down like I'm going to sit in the chair. But I don't have a chair. I say the most common mistake with this posture or misalignment is the knees. People put their knees forward and the weight leaves the heels and comes into their toes. You want to sit your weight down into your heels. I've done these before where you don't even need to use weights to make this harder, but we will. I will anyway. You do what you feel is right for you. So I'm going to come back, my walking in place. Just adding the intensity, building the heat up so our body gets warmer. Like everybody needs a little different amount of time to warm up. Some people, it's recommended 5 minutes before we start to really push the weights. Next exercise will be the lunges. So we've gone through it. I'm going to do the lunges stepping forward. So making sure nothing's behind you. I like stepping forward so I can see what I'm stepping on, making sure in case nobody drops weights on the ground. Same thing, I'm going to step forward onto my heel. I press down into my heel as I lower the back knee down and come up. Step the other leg forward, back knee comes down, pressing up the heel to come up, and keep switching. Again, when you get tired, you can start to walk in place. I'm going to take my arms out and around. Haven't really moved my arms in this circular motion yet. So I like to move the body in every way I possibly can. And you can go faster with this. You can go slower. You can do one leg at a time. If you feel like it's unstable, you can hold on to a chair if you need. At any time, come back to walking in place. As you're starting to see, the intensity is getting harder. So right now I'm taking a 30-second break because we're just about on the 10 minutes. which means I'm gonna start to pick these exercises up a little bit more intense. You can always back off using no weights or just the band. I'm gonna move up to, like I said, using a little lighter weight than you normally would. We're doing more repetitions. I'm just gonna start with get my shoulders a little bit more warmed up. So I'm just gonna walk in place with the weight, which will make things a little bit harder. Yes, you can. It would probably even be better to do these. They have weights on your hands. People have actually, so the weight does not fly away. So yeah, if you're like me, you have to be conscious of holding the weight and not letting it slip. Otherwise, it'll go right through your television screen and you'll not be very happy. So I'm going to make it a little faster, right? So now I'm more into a march. Backing off and walking at any time. There's a subtle thing to watch. I am opposite arm, opposite leg. Notice that for a lot of people, that's a difficult movement to do, but it's way your body is meant to move. I'm going to come back to walking in place. It's not a high intensity exercises, so we're giving plenty of time to rest and recover from the previous round. So I'm walking slower and slower. This is going to start to become a little bit more difficult. As we move into the next exercise, which is the jumping jacks. So you can do the half jumping jacks with or without the weights. You can do the full jumping jacks. I would recommend starting off without the weights if you're doing the full jumping jack, just to see how it's going to feel on your knees. Your body is absorbing more shock doing this. So, see, notice how I land. My knees bend to absorb that shock. The body does have natural shock absorption ability, but as time goes by, that becomes less. I'm going to come back to walking. I'll explain it. The spine, the shape of the spine acts as a shock absorber. There's the curves. The curves will bend, but I'm not sure. You'd have to talk to a doctor to find how the aging process will affect that ability. Okay, we're going to take another break. Just walking gently. You can put the weights down, because the weights are going to make this much harder. So then we're going to go to the scissor jacks. They're called, well, the scissor jacks. Remember, the scissors arms will go like this, and then the legs. Here. Remember, on the other side, I was able to do a few coming up into the air, leaving the ground. I have to give a little warning to doing that kind of activity, even jumping jacks. It's the shock on the body. So the weights are starting to become heavy, so I'm going to put my weights down first. Notice how I put one weight down, the other weight on top of it, so it doesn't roll away from me. So I could be doing this, and all of a sudden the weight will run underneath me, and I'll step on it and fall. Always secure your equipment so that you're not going to fall on it. I'm going to start walking in place. So right now I'm telling you just to breathe. If you feel like you can't breathe comfortably, then you back off. There's other methods of taking your heart rate on the wrist or the throat Some people wear a heart rate monitor. I'm not getting it that technical. I'm saying if you feel like it's going a little bit too hard, back it off. Okay, we're going to come back with the band, and we're going to go back to squats. My favorite exercises. So I'm going to do the squat, and I'm going to do shoulder presses. So again, my feet are hip width apart. I press my hips back, take the arms up. Remember I said the first, I find the most difficult and first thing to really work on, I see a misalignment, is people, knees come forward. You want to keep your knees over your ankles, behind, at least behind your toes. The second big mistake, people will lean over. Now, that's not good either. You have to lean a little bit forward. I'll go to the side so you can see. My hips come back. My chest wants to come down. I want to keep the chest lifted. Yeah. This is something that takes practice. I would, if you're new to this, or your knees start to bother you, look at yourself in the mirror or have somebody look at you while you're doing this. And do a couple more, and again, taking a little bit of a break. Okay. So we've definitely past the warm-up. I'm very warm right now. As I'm going to come back to the lunges, but I like to work my back body, so I'm going to do the lunges with the band, and then do my reverse flies. So right now we're doing a lot of, actually we'll slow it down in a little while and do both these activities, the presses and the flies, or trying it on the chairs. It might be a little difficult because it's like using a bench, but we don't really have a bench. So you have to compete with, your head might wind up on hitting the back of the chair. So I'm going to step forward, pull the band out, doing reverse fly and the lunge. Remembering the full exhale. The most important part of the breath is considered to be the exhale. That's the exertion part of any exercise. On the exhale, you use a force to push off with. I see I'm pushing off with my heel as I come back up. Yes, this gets difficult. Like I said, if it gets difficult, keep up the arms going on. We're doing a lot for the legs. Just keep it moving at a steady pace. Going to try to do 10 more seconds, and we'll get a little. Then you get a little break. One more. Okay. All right. I'll put the band aside for now, and I'm gonna put it down in the reclining chair. So I'll move more into weights. So I'm gonna keep myself moving by just a gentle walking. You can even make it more easy without even lifting by just lifting the heels. So I want to slow it down just a little bit as well, as I'm going to do more with the weights. Okay, another 10 seconds. And I'm going to come back to using the weights. And then we'll finish up with some weight exercises and the chair. So let me take my weights again. Start walking with the weights, and then then we'll move up into these exercises with weights and our calisthenics, focusing on the squats and lunges. Many people consider the squat the most important of all exercises, and it does work most of the muscles in our body. So again, I'm going to come into the squat with a press. So I'm going to sit my hips down. I hold the weights in front of my shoulder. I sit the hips down. I take the arms up and back up. Inhale, exhale, pushing the ground away. It's okay to get speed going if you want. It makes your heart and lungs work a little bit harder. As we're putting the intensity up, we're doing less duration. Just get a couple more, and I'm gonna work it out. Okay. You may feel the intensity of this getting a little harder. So we're gonna add more rest to these two very difficult exercises. Some of the most difficult maybe are the squats and lunges. Like I say, it's working more muscles than anything else. So we're gonna do lunges again. This time I'm gonna change the movement up. We're going to start to work the arms a little bit with it. So I'm going to lunge and do a curl. Again, you're welcome to go as fast or slow as you want. The faster, the more harder you're going to feel it to breathe. If you feel like, the opposite to do this is to go slower, do less with a heavier weight. This, I remember, is more for the aerobic. Walking it out. Yeah. Whew. Let your heart rate settle. If you have to, put the weights down as well. Gonna do more challenging exercise. So if it's too hard or you feel like the weight is getting a little heavy, definitely do not want to be holding weights if you're getting tired and have the weight fly away from you. One of the basic safety rules of exercise is to make sure everything is secured properly. I'm going to walk, I'm going to come back to what we were doing before, the kickback. And with the weights, doing reverse flies. We did it with the band. This is going to be a lot harder. So I'm kicking back, I'm taking the weight, pulling the weight back. You can make this more challenging by circling around. Just make sure nothing is left laying around that you won't see and you'll trip over it. So working really, I want the focus to be on the upper back. It's such an important place. And I'll explain that in a little bit as we get into some balance. So I'm gonna walk it out. But, we're working the muscles in the upper back. Just take a few breaths, rolling the shoulders around, and as we'll come to the alignment. We've done mostly aerobic, and we're going to slowly lower it down to do other activities. But we went a little bit into this last week where we're bending forward. So I'm going to actually put the weight down first. So being very careful with this. I'm turning to the side so you can see my alignment. My upper back draws the shoulders back, my head over the shoulders. So I got one straight line down my body, And I'm just gonna fold over, sliding my hands down the legs, past my knees, down to my shins. The tendency is to round, keep the back flat, and press up. So I'm lowering down slowly, but I'm coming up quickly. I'm gonna add weights, same thing. I slide the weight, notice how close the weights are to my body. My back is flat and I come up. When the spine starts to round, that's a weakness. That's a weakness in the spine. And if you have heavy weights, that can be an injury to your spine. So we'll do these again. I want to have the option of doing these on the chair. So I just showed the alignment. My ears, shoulders, everything is over my ankle. I'll put the weights down now. I think we'll maybe do some more. So I'll put it right by my chair. So I want also, from the front to the side, you want to begin to have the weight even in both legs. You know, it sounds funny, but yeah, you ever see a lot of people, they stand and they tend to stand on one leg. That's quite common. We all have a good side and a bad side, but I want you to find that weight in the center as we're slowing it down. So weight is even in both legs. You may notice some people lean back when their toes lift up, but sometimes they lean forward like they're ready to run off to catch something, and the weight leaves the heel. So I'm rocking from heel to toe. Find that sweet spot right in the middle. Taking some breaths. We're going to come to balance on one leg. Now, if you can, avoid looking around. As soon as you look at something that moves, you're most likely gone. So look at something that's not going to move, like a little spot on the floor. And just balance here. The other thing that helps a lot is try to press into your big toe. And take about 10 breaths. That's why we're slowing down what we were doing just a few minutes ago. We're going to be holding poses and stretching and do it. Well, first we're going to do some little more weight training using the chair. Okay, again, coming back to center. Trying to get the balance before we start to do stuff that might be a little more challenging weight-wise. Come up, and I'm going to go to the other side. More breaths. And back to center. Okay. All right, now I'm going to take the chair and the center. And I'm going to come in to we kind of did this already, where we worked these muscles already. I had to just practice this before class because it's a little awkward coming in and out of it. I'm going to hold the chair and I'm going to slide myself back so my upper back is on the chair. Just be careful you don't slide off the chair. You might be wanting to hold the chair, and I'm going to bring my hips down and push them back up. Just be careful. Don't go too far down, as you'll start to feel a little strain on the back. It's the coming up. It's the pushing the hips forward. Just like we did when we bent over with the weights, which is an alternative to doing this. This is just a different way of doing the same activity. I'm going to come back up, holding the chair. I'm sliding up, and I'm going to grab the chair and come back up to sit. Okay, I have my weights behind me. I'll show this from a couple of angles. I'm sliding to the edge of my chair. I'm going to put the weights underneath my legs here. And I'm going to come up. This is a reverse squat. You can, if you want at this point, to use a heavier weight for this. That's the one drawback with lifting weights, is that some exercises we need to use a heavier weight for. An alternative to that is, if you don't have that, we're just going to hold the weight up. And you'll start to feel this weight starts to get heavy. You can even take your arms over you alongside your head and back, which is a very good exercise. It works a very obscure muscle. Coming back up. Okay, so I'll stay here for a moment. We're going to take the weights. I'm going to take the weights up alongside my ears, and I'm just going to straighten the arms. I'm going to do the same thing on the chair. If you find it difficult, or if your chair is sliding away from you, this is an alternative. And if it's too easy, you can have both weights in one hand, which helps because then you can keep the arm alongside the ear, because when you get tired, you'll see the arm starts drifting down. You want the arm alongside the ear. Okay. I'll put the weights aside for now. See, I got them stacked so they don't roll away. I'm going to hold the chair. I step my feet away, and I'm coming into these are tricep extension dips. What we did with our arms were just plain tricep extensions. They're a little bit harder because now I'm using my body weight. I lower down and straighten up. See how I'm working as my arm straightens. So that's why it's called an extension. And if you find this too easy, you want more weight, you can put weight on your lap. You can put bags or something heavy, which I've seen people do with barbells. Be careful if you use dumbbells, they're liable to roll off. So come back up. Okay. I'll get my weight, I'll turn back to center. And I said you may want to have heavier weights for this, specific exercises. I'm going to start off with the shoulders here. Straightening the arms. This is okay because you should be feeling pretty warm from this exercises. So the shoulders are would be ready for heavier weights if you have them, or if you want to use them. And put the weights down, putting them away. Again, I'm putting them away from myself so I don't trip on them. And I'm going to come on to another exercise for the chair. You can do this on the floor, which I will do both. I'm going to sit away from the back of the chair. A lot of space behind the chair. I put my shoulders on the chair and I lift the legs up. They're called V-sits. If you feel any pain in your back, you may just want to do plain crunches, which is a little harder in a chair, but I will take my mat, set my mat up for doing these exercises on the floor. If you don't have ability to be on the floor, so I'm going to start off with the basic crunch. I'm bringing my hands behind my ears, but I'm only using them as a guide. Now I come up and I lower down. You're welcome to stay with these. These may be easier for many people and safer than the V-sits, but I'm going to come up to this V-sit. The basic, I'm holding my legs, so I help my legs come in towards my chest. You can straighten the legs, which I'm going to get to, but first, I'm going to a little bit harder. I'm going to come here, just let go of the legs. Now my muscles are working to keep the legs lifted. To make it harder, actually, you lift the legs up, and even harder, you let go. So a little bit in the middle, I can even hold the legs and come here, in and out. You can do it without holding the legs. You can even lower your back to the floor and come back up. Much harder. Okay, so we're gonna come into some stretching as we're coming toward the end. So I'm gonna I'll show you because I like to do these exercises standing. It's a lot of balance. So I'm gonna do these exercises seated and then do them standing. Simple. I'm just going to you can do this while you're watching TV. Just straighten the back of the leg. Important with stretching is to using a lot of your full breath. So you exhale all the air out. Slowly inhaling. Full exhale. As I exhale, I'm going to come in deeper. So we're actually going to do these two exercises twice. They're very good exercises. Notice, I'll show you a little bit, as I do this standing, my back is flat. I'm not rounding. And I'm going to switch legs. I always keep my hands, my body weight, on the bent leg, not on the straight leg, because you could push the leg a little bit more straight than you may want to, and you could strain muscles by doing that. Yeah, a lot of people will like to use their body weight to facilitate a stretch. It is a little dangerous though. I like to use my muscle energy. So that's the first stretch. Second stretch, I come to the side. I take my leg alongside me. It's kind of like, it is like a lunge, like a low lunge. And I just breathe again. As we're starting to slow things down, we try to become more aware of the breath. Will help to calm the nervous system. And I'm going to switch. I'll come to the other side. Slide a little over. So in ways, the chair is good because it takes the balance out of the postures. The bad thing is it takes the balance out of the poses. So if you're finding it's just too hard to balance, yeah, this is a good alternative. But if you can, we want to improve our balance. So we'll do those same exercises again. This time standing, I'll actually use the chair to help balance a little bit, give us a little bit of an aid to help the pose. So I'm going to take the chair, I'll leave the chair over here on the side. If you need to stand, but again, I'm going to straighten my right leg out. I can hold the chair and one hand on the leg or both hands on the leg. I'm going to switch sides. Again, you can use the chair and the leg if you're feeling a little unstable. I almost had my other arm on the leg. want to put it on the knee so you're more stable on putting weight into the bent leg rather than the straight leg. But mostly, you really should try to use either the leg or the chair as little as possible. Next one, a little more challenging, so I'm going to use the chair. I'm going to take my leg, I'm just going to bend the knee, grabbing the foot, the ankle. Like I said, you can do these sitting. This is hard to reach. I'm going to switch, going to the other leg. Chair away, and we're going to do some stretches for my shoulders and upper torso. I'm going to interlock my fingers behind my back, lifting the chest up. So I'm stretching the front of my shoulder, across the collarbones, stretching at the end of a workout will help prevent muscle soreness, and this makes it so we can exercise for longer into our lives. When we start to get too much tightness, you can wind up with injuries. Another good thing about stretching is it relieves stress. So it's kind of our relaxation part of the workout. Yoga has its own whole section just for meditation. Think of this as the meditation part of the class. So I'm going to take my right hand up. I'm going to bring the arm across, but I'm going to take my left hand onto the upper part of the outside of my arm and draw it in. Notice how my shoulder is lifting up. Try to keep the shoulder down. Just draw the arm across. Again, that exhale creates the relaxation, which tells the muscles to let go of the intensity, the tightness. I'm going to come to another stretch. Same arm. I'm going to take my arm up alongside my arm. Remember the dips, the tricep extensions. This is stretching those muscles that we used, which may have been a lot for some of us. And then doing the same thing on the other side. Triceps. Again, like I had it when you did with one weight, you can use your hand because the elbow wants to drift down. You want the elbow alongside your ear. And then we're going to do one more for the upper back. We did a lot on our upper back. Just giving yourself a great big hug. And then we'll switch and go to the other side. If you want to stretch between your shoulder blades and do this about the same time as you did the other side. And then we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.